Hey, how you doing? I'm Steve. Thank you so much for joining the channel and sharing in this van life experience with me. So far, I've done 19,500 miles of van life, 32 states, 7 or 8 cities, 26 national parks. You already know what the first destination is from the title, Washington, D.C., so let's just go ahead and take a look. So leaving from Florida, I navigated my way through the back roads of Georgia, made a short stop in Savannah, and I had thought about staying the night over there and exploring the city, but the employees at Publix were like, nah, man, I just go ahead and head to DC. So that's what I decided to do. I did stop over for the night at a Walmart in Dillon, South Carolina. They were very nice, and I appreciate the hospitality. And then got up the next day and made the trip the rest of the way to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. So I actually got there at night and stealth camped for the night and got up the next morning and took the subway in. Here's my first impression of Washington, D.C. Oh boy, it's hot. So it's brutally hot here, man. I thought I was escaping the heat. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing to admit as a native Floridian, but yeah, I was surprised at how hot it was. I thought as soon as I got past Georgia, it would be like 70 degrees everywhere I went in the summertime, but I learned that's not true. Here's like a look at my itinerary around the National Mall. I came out of the subway stop that's to the east of the Washington Monument. So first impressions of the National Mall were that it's really big, and I guess I never thought about it before, but it's 2 miles from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol. It has an awful lot of space, and I'm so glad they have trees planted next to the sidewalk so you can walk in the shade because, again, it was hot. Moving counterclockwise from where I came out of the subway, first past the Smithsonian Castle. I didn't go in. I understand they have information about the Smithsonian Institute in there and the various museums. Pretty nice looking building. I made my way all the way down to the Grant Memorial, which is to the west of the Capitol. You get a great view of the Washington Monument. So you can see the inclement weather that was approaching. And so I was pretty nervous about, getting rained out and everything because the National Mall is so big and I was hoping to see the whole thing in one day. Made my way around the Capitol. Capitol looks great in person, that big whole, Capitol dome. Congress is not in session. Both the flags, if the flags are down, I think that means they're not in session. I got a nice shot of the, the Freedom statue here. I came past the Supreme Court here. As you can see, there is, you weren't exactly visiting the Supreme Court on that day. Came across the Senate Park. I guess this is technically the lower Senate Park, where you can get a nice, you can get you a nice photo of the Capitol Dome and a fountain in front of it. You can get an awesome photo there, so that's a place I recommend you check out. So from there, I went and came across the National Archives. There's no photography allowed in there because of, to preserve documents and everything. They have exhibits such as, presidential recordings, presidential memos. They have drafts of bills. I think if you want to research the National Archives, you have to make an appointment online or something like that. But the major draw of the National Archives is to go view our Charters of Freedom, which is the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And they have, I believe it's called a rotunda, and they kind of queue you up in kind of a holding corral, and then they let every, 30 people or so go in there at one time. Again, there's no photos allowed. This is from the NARA website. What I recommend you do is, most everybody is going to go to the Declaration of Independence to the left, so I recommend you go to the right and then make your way from right to the left. It's a little bit easier way to get in there and, view the document. So the paper's 250 years old. I think they sat in a window for like 40 years or something like that. So they're very faded, difficult to read, and they wrote in a different style back then, not just cursive, but you have things like a long S, things like that. And so you really gotta sort of kind of know what you're looking for. And I know sections of the Constitution and Bill of Rights and Declaration of Independence. And so you can kind of use that to try to read the rest of it, the sections you may not be as familiar with. I took the time to go read through several sections just to verify that they do in fact exist. They have a really great display here, how they're laid out. I overheard many people asking the guards there about things that happen in the National Treasure movie series. I actually haven't seen any of their movies. From what I gathered from hearing the conversations, the guards say, yeah, everything in the National Treasure series, that's not real. So anyways, but it's a really special thing. You go and you can actually see John Hancock's signature, very faded, but to go see it. I thought it was a special experience, and it's something that I recommend everybody do. Again, admission is free, so definitely recommend you check that out if you visit Washington. Moving on from there, my next stop was the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. And basically it was looking like it was going to rain, and I figured, well, I'll duck in here and check out the exhibit and, see if it rains or not. Again, admission is free. I really liked how they had the dinosaurs set up here, how they had them posed, like the T-Rex is feeding on the Triceratops. And then throughout the rest of the History Museum, you're going to have a bunch of, basically stuffed animals, but it's great to get a sense of their size. Here's a look at the entrance hall. So I had no idea the Hope Diamond was there, but this is maybe my favorite part of the Natural History Museum is, it's a very famous diamond. It's supposedly cursed. I've really enjoyed seeing that in person. So from there I got lunch. Here's a look at the, what I got, and there's a look at how much it costs. So if you're considering having lunch at the Natural History Museum, there you go. It looked like the rain, wasn't going to come, so I headed back on out. And again, continued, I guess, heading west along the National Mall. Get a great shot of the Department of Agriculture. Get some more great views of the Washington Monument. I should have walked up to the Washington Monument. I didn't, for whatever reason. So from here, I'm walking up to the White House. The thing that kind of struck me is the buildings in Washington are not very tall, but they take up the whole block, so they're still really big. As you make your way up to the White House, you can't really see the White House from the east or the west because of the, I guess it's the Treasury Department, and then you have the Eisenhower Executive Office building, maybe on the west end. So yeah, we got the White House. You can see the Secret Service sniper there up to the upper left. Here's a look at the south end of the White House. I prefer that because you see that third story that's hidden from the north view. Here we have a look at the Eccles building where the Federal Reserve Board meets to ruin everybody's life. I turned and made my way to the Lincoln Memorial. Here's a shot of the reflecting pool with the Washington Monument in the background. They had still had some fencing up from the 4th of July celebration, so you really couldn't, I couldn't get some of the pictures I wanted. Heading up to the Lincoln Memorial, again, I've seen pictures of it in person, but it really strikes you, this is like a Roman temple. So from there I turned and saw the World War II Memorial. Made my way around the Tidal Basin. It's getting really dark. You really got to watch out for those tree branches as you walk along the Tidal Basin sidewalk to get there. And here's a look at the actual Jefferson Memorial. It's our third president. It's a little bit difficult thing to kind of photograph because it's a darker statue. From there, I decided to call it a night. This is going to lead me into my first van tip. I'll have van tips, not in every video, but when it comes up, I'll mention a van tip that will help you out if you ever try to go into van life. And so the first van tip is going to be go get a Planet Fitness membership so you can take a shower. Specifically the black card, I think is what they call it, where you can go to any Planet Fitness in the country. And you want to do that so you can go take a shower. I have a shower in the van. I mean, it works perfectly fine. You do have to take a Navy shower. With Planet Fitness, a lot easier. You can just go by there, take you a nice hot shower, and that reduces your water usage in the van, and so you can basically extend your dry camping that way, or you can conserve your water so you can go longer between filling up and dumping your tanks. And I was able actually to work it to where I didn't pay to refill my tanks or dump my tanks during this entire portion of doing van life. So for all 19,500 miles, I never paid, and I'm appreciative for the hospitality for that. But I'm just letting you know it can be done, and using Planet Fitness was one of the ways I was able to conserve my water. So I was able to make it to a place where I could dump my tanks and refill my water for free. That I overslept and got a late start. I had planned to go see the Library of Congress, try to go to the Capitol. The Washington Monument just wasn't going to happen because the reservations, it's free to go there, but the reservations to get it, it's like $1, but they sold out instantly the night before for the ones that you could get. So yeah, you go to Washington in the summertime, it's going to be hard to get those Washington Monument tickets. Anyway, so what I decided when I got there was to check out the American History Museum. They did have this, statue of George Washington, and again, it just reinforces that Roman influence on a lot of the monuments that are there. So the thing I liked about, here's just a few pictures. The thing I liked about the American History Museum is they did have a exhibit on American entrepreneurialism. Here's just an odd clock they had there. I like this lobby game here, which I think was from the 40s. And it's just kind of an example of, no matter what you see on the news these days, the game ain't changed. And all the same shenanigans happening that have always been happening up there. Another section of the museum I liked was the numismatic exhibit. And, it deals with money. And so they had a bunch of different coins and bills from all around the world. And it was a pretty neat setup. Like I said, I didn't get as many pictures as I would have liked. But they also had a thing on like American transport. So they had some, trucks, cars, things like that. So Washington is the ultimate government town, right? The thing that kind of caught me by surprise is, all the Smithsonian museums and everything, they all close at 5. I think the White House Visitor Center closes at 4:30. And so I missed that on this day also. It closes at 5, but they really start rounding you up about 4:30. And so I kind of got, caught off guard, and, they kind of shoo you out. So, which is strange because, it's the summertime, so days are a lot longer. Anyway, so yeah, it's 5 o'clock. What am I going to do? So I decided to just roam around the streets for the rest of that day. I made my way over to Ford's Theater. It was closed because it's after 5, but obviously this is the location where President Lincoln was assassinated. And then across the street, literally right across the street, is the house where he, passed away from his injuries. So from there, I made my way up to a place called Franklin Square. You get a, view of the famous Washington Post newspaper building. And, just looked around at some things. So there I got, I think I ate at a Chipotle there. And I made my way, back. I used the subway to make my way back to the van. One of the things that I didn't realize was that the Washington, D.C. subway it's very deep underground. And some of the escalators are maybe some of the tallest escalators in the world. I wasn't prepared for how high up it was. Third day, things worked a little bit smoother. I was able to get up a little bit earlier. For this day, I was going to hit up the zoo and go by the National Cathedral. Again, this is free. the Smithsonian National Zoo. They had a lot of great animals. I think it was notable for the pandas, the elephants, and the lion. And here we'll just take a look at the various animals. So for the panda, I think they have some, like a research facility there for them. And this is the first time I saw a panda, I think, in real life. It's a fun looking guy. For the elephants, I believe these are Asian elephants. It was just nice you could get up so close to them. The one with the tusks there, his name is Spike. They have a like a little booklet or whatever that's there, and you can go and read profiles on all the elephants. At Animal Kingdom and Disney World, the elephants are always, the times I've been on that safari, they've all been off hiding. And it was just great to be able to see the elephants up close and personal. This guy, I guess, is, he's using some dirt to get rid of some flies or something. So they also had an aviary, and you got a bunch of birds, and these, I assume these are parrots, and they were pretty photogenic. They loved the camera, so we got a few shots of them. Also got some poison dart frogs. So from there, tiger's pretty much always going to be the star of the show, right? I don't know this tiger's name. I think they have multiple ones there. This is the only one that was out. But he or she was, a lot of fun, getting in the water and all that kind of stuff. And definitely a awesome animal to see in person. And to finish up, we have the lion. Again, just my reference is Animal Kingdom, and lions are always asleep when you go on the safari there, so it's nice to see a lion awake and sort of moving. This guy is he's you know, sunbathing or what have you, sunning himself. You know, I looked up later, you know, to see if I could find out what some of the animals' names were. And I saw after I left, they had to put down 2 of their lions, and one was a male named Luke. I don't know if this is him, but, you know, sad to see that. But this guy, he was, look at him, he's so, you know, he's got that big old head. The other thing is I never really realized that tigers are bigger than lions. I always assumed the lion was bigger. Anyway, so that was something I learned. You know, it's great to, you know, see him, you know, see the lions up close like that. So coming out of the zoo, I know there are different breeds of squirrels. I didn't know there was a black squirrel. So it was interesting to see this guy in person. So I made a stop at a Chipotle for lunch and caught a motorcade. I don't think this is a presidential motorcade because it's not big enough. So from there, I decided to hit up the National Cathedral. It's this huge Gothic. It's I think one of the biggest churches in the world, maybe. I know it's definitely one of the biggest in the United States. They have some scaffolding there, which I've learned is they're making repairs, and they're still working on them from like an earthquake. And they have these, I believe these are called grotesques and not gargoyles. But interesting bit of trivia on the National Cathedral, they have a grotesque of Darth Vader. I was able to find them all by myself. But yeah, it's like a magnificent building. They have a little garden in the back you can go check out. I went back there, they're having like a little birthday party or something. From there, I decided to pack it in for the day, rode the subway back, did another night stealth camping in the van, and I decided it was time to you know, move on and, you know, make my way further north. Okay, so it's a great trip. I really liked Washington, D.C. Coming from a smaller, really a town, a larger town, a smaller city. You know, I only hung around the National Mall. I felt like it was something I could deal with. It wasn't too like overwhelming to, you know, with all kinds of people and all that stuff. So it was a good experience. Like I said, the Smithsonian, the Air and Space Museum was closed. I couldn't get tickets to the Washington Monument or a reservation for the Washington Monument. I couldn't get there on time for the White House Visitor Center. You know, didn't get to the Library of Congress. And what was the other one I missed out on? Oh, visiting the Capitol Visitor Center. So those are all things I'm going to have to check out again in the future. I would definitely visit again. A couple more observations of Washington, or I guess 2, is that Fed boy, you know, haircut is a real thing, you know, with they comb it and they shave it or whatever. And for whatever reason, you know, because I would see, you know, with the various cities and everything, I would see, you know, a lot of joggers. And Washington joggers, I don't know if it's because they're all feds or what, they're very aggressive, and it's like a power projection thing when they run. Like they run and they mean business. And so that was another thing I noted. But yeah, I thought it was a very good trip, and I would definitely visit again. Okay, so if you've liked the video, please give me a like, please subscribe, share the video with your friends, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll do the best I can to answer them. Okay, quickly before I talk about what's coming up in next week's episode and the plans for the channel, I am going to go ahead and let you know, because I'm not going to ask you to watch 30-something videos to get my opinion on van life. My opinion on van life is, yeah, it's a great experience, and if you can do it, you should definitely try to do it. Now, for me personally, I don't think I achieved some new level of self-actualization, but yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm glad I've done it. And there's some additional traveling I want to go do, and then I'll make my decision as to, you know, what I'm going to do with the van going forward. This is a great way to travel. I don't know if full-time van life is really going to work for me, because it's kind of hard to take care of some other, I guess, life accomplishments. It's hard to get to those if you're traveling around a van all the time. But it's been a great experience. As I mentioned, you know, 19,500 miles, 32 states, 8 cities, 26 national parks. and I was able to boondock the entire time. So I never paid. I didn't pay for any lodging, no campsites. I never made any reservations. So for someone that's had limited travel, not even camping, I went camping one time in the 4th grade. But when it comes to even traveling, I've had limited experience with that. And I was able to get this awesome van, which I've been very happy with the van, and go out there and do this crazy journey with no experience and have a wonderful time. So if you're curious about van life, I'm telling you, I'm somebody, and I'd only seen the videos, and I went and I was able to do it. So it can definitely be done, and it is a great experience. Did you subscribe earlier? Well, if you didn't, here's a look at things to come. As you can see, I got a lot coming up. Next week is going to be Baltimore, which is but mainly Fort McHenry, and there'll be a little bit of Philadelphia. So thank you so much for taking the time to check out the channel and sticking with me to the end, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.